for a little bit. You know that on Tuesdays to begin, that's good that you're, that's awesome. I think I know what sound I want. Ooh, tell me, Rock Slide. That's awesome to hear, Marin. On Tuesdays, we do what's called positivity talks. So we have a different subject that we talk about, not only just that is in a positive light, but also how can you make it positive, right? Because positivity, people have it innately, right? But there's always a choice. Which way do you want to go, right? Do you want to go positive or negative about things? Do you want to be attacking or do you want to help somebody? Yeah, it's a way that we do that. And the reason for these talks is to be able to honestly bring positivity to Twitch, bring positivity to the internet, bring positivity to gaming, because honestly, those are some communities that can really use it, and just really wanted to be able to help somebody. And even if with these talks, whether it's through YouTube or Twitch, or for all of you who are watching it right now, I want to be able to help better someone's life. And even if it's just through all these different talks we've done, this will make 11 right now. So next week will be, next week we'll break a dozen for those. And even if it's just one person has a better outlook on life or a better life because of it, I know that it was all worth it. So I don't mind taking a few minutes every Tuesday and also, you know, time throughout my week to be able, if I can make one person's life better, that's far worth my time. So a dozen bring donuts, right, KB? Right? And yes, guys, I don't know if it's been the same thing for you, but it has been hot here until finally today. Hopefully fall kind of gets started here. But so the positivity talk for today is going to be going over some things that you probably know about, but some things that you may not know about. To be honest, this is all still being researched, like right now as we speak. And honestly, like the first two are kind of known, and even the second one really wasn't a thing until about the mid to late 80s. It was researched in the early 80s, but it really wasn't like a thing that people knew about even like less than 20 years ago. So, I mean, these are 30 years ago, and really it didn't even become a thing that people studied and utilized until literally just like a decade ago. So, I mean, a lot of this stuff is brand new, and even some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about is, I'll be honest, it's sprinkled a little bit more with my my interpretation of it, and I'll give you reasons why, and also just some thoughts about it. So that way you guys can kind of take a look at it, see what applies to you, maybe what you want to talk about, maybe bring up some different points. That's literally what we're here for. That's why everybody's here, to be able to talk about it. So it's going to be going over things of IQ, okay, IQ, EQ, okay, PQ, and SQ. So you're looking at me and like, hey, like what? Why are all these Qs? Like what are all these Qs? So IQ, right? That's intellect. So intellect quotient or intelligence, right? EQ, which is emotional quotient. So like those are the emotional things. PQ, which is physical quotient, and then SQ, which is spiritual quotient. And whenever I going to be leaving work soon, no worries, AZ. EQ, all about that bass. Nice. Solid KB, solid musical pun. So with all those are a little bit different than probably what you're thinking that they are. IQ, everybody pretty well knows, so that's not something that'll be like super crazy, but it's going to be a little bit different. Yeah, question, go for it, Jay. List it out there. So don't be thinking like, hey, by the way, also working, Luke, my puns on hold. No worries, KB brother. I know that you're working right now. Why is G for you, June Comedians, and not Quack Attack? Well, I could take out positivity and put in Quack Attack. And not only that, Jay, don't give me crap. I'm the one who told you that Quack Attack was even a thing. So, but yeah, I think that would be good for me to be able to put that in there. I agree. I should do that. Yeah, thank you for letting me know that. I will change that. But I love you calling me out on it. You got to keep me on my toes, Jay. Got to keep me on my toes. So IQ, EQ, PQ, and SQ. That's what we're going to be going over. So each of us has certain strengths and like natural styles that whenever it comes to these, and we all have met and honestly probably perhaps are either like the person who is incredibly book smart, but like who absolutely has like no common sense. You know those people, or maybe you're that person. If you don't know a whole lot of people, then then you're probably that person. But like that you just don't have a whole lot of common sense, but you're incredibly book smart. Like I know how to do this, and all of a sudden you find yourself like missing out on these very, very simple things. Or maybe like we all know someone who's like stupid smart, but like is kind of like an emotional boy. Like, well, here's the facts, just do it, you know? And so, Caitlin, welcome. So like EQ and IQ might be kind of like, they're looked upon. That's why I was saying that those are kind of the two more prominent ones, because they're looked at and honestly are known as the yin and yang of leadership, kind of like they're looked at as kind of the main two. But there are many other factors in play, like addressing SQ, like is a big one. PQ is a huge one. Like, so like SQ with that spirituality, like the spiritual quotient, like as I define it, and as a book that I'll get to in a little bit defines it, like it's the innate human need to be connected to something larger than ourselves. So something we consider like either like it can be divinity, it could be it could even be like exceptional nobility, so something that's noble to do. And I'll even talk a little bit about how extra life kind of plays in that as well. Whereas like some of you may be thinking, oh, SQ, spirituality, like he's going to be talking about religion. But like religion, as I would look at it, is more of like a specific set of beliefs and practices, usually like by a certain like group of people. So, and kind of represented by like text and different beliefs. So it's a little bit different. So don't get hung up on like the religion part of the SQ. Now that can be part of it, if that's who you are, but I just don't get, what I would say is just whenever we go into SQ, don't let that be the hang up of like listening and thinking about it and how you're going to move forward with it. So just as a heads up with it. But and one of the reasons why I wanted to address these four main ones, so like again IQ, EQ, PQ, and SQ, is because honestly, whenever I was looking up all these different studies for this, I'm not joking with you, there are literally hundreds of Qs, okay? Like, these are things like, here, hold on, I'm going to bring them up real quick. It's ridiculous. Okay, listen to this. So, diligence quotient, motivation quotient, character quotient, kindness quotient, personality quotient, sociability quotient, desire, reality, communications, people, behavioral, appearance, experience, knowledge, situational, management, health, intelligence, moral, daring, adversity, financial. Like, a lot of people have that's why I'm saying that a lot of this stuff, a lot of these, I think that all of them that they have, there are different quotients. You could literally have a quotient on, you can have a Twitch quotient if you want to. But the main thing with all of those is that I feel like they all fit into these four. And these four are, from whatever you see, I don't want to say that they're all encompassing, but they have a pretty big spread. They have a pretty big umbrella. So we're going to be getting into each one of them. I'm going to try and go kind of fast because there's a lot of it. But if you guys have, exactly right, that is a lot, Marin. If you guys have questions or statements about any of them, please speak up. Let me know. That's why these are conversations and not just, that's why these are talks and not instructionals, right? I give tips and tricks about how to look at them as a positive light for these. But again, I'm not sitting here saying that I am the know-it-all on everything that could possibly be, right? Like anybody who says that, they've already failed. So please let me know what you think about them. So the first one I'm going to address is the easiest one so that you guys can kind of start getting in this flow is IQ. So that's the intellect quotient. So these are things like whenever you're looking at like standardized tests, memorization, designations, books, most of this is honestly like from psychologist point of view, most of it is argued that your IQ, actually the good majority of it is actually set by the time that you're 7 years old. But then after that, the extra things that you learn is a small set of that as like a proportion. And the reason why I say that is like think about this. So your ability to logically reason, understand, memorize, and work through a word problem are all things that set you up to answer the word problem. The fact that you can answer the word problem is like the smaller kind of percentage that you learn later. Taslow 2613, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Neverland, home. Happy to have you as part of the community. But so whenever you look at that, it's going to be some a little bit different. So, and welcome Ruckus, buddy. How are you? I was doomed from the start. Doomed from the start for the IQ. No, man. So a lot of the things that with IQ that's on there, a lot of the continuous like systematic discipline study and education, like that's gonna be like your cultivation of self-awareness and like learning and teaching by doing, right? So like lifelong learning is widely regarded as the increase in IQ. So like you go through and like you want to be able to improve your mind, you want to improve your professional expertise, your overall position in life. A lot of people IQ people attribute to wisdom. So like attain through kind of like you maturing and getting older. And really just whenever you look at that, you can do things like taking a look at higher learning, maybe obtaining like a degree from a higher education. That's one way to do it, but also you can learn from elders, you can learn from people, you can learn from someone in this chat, you can learn from everybody that you meet. And so it's really cool because IQ is something that is continually happening, even sometimes whenever you don't realize it's happening. So this is something that as you're moving along and as you're listening to things, rolls for wisdom saving throws. Nice, Ruckus. So these are different things that you could sit there and say, okay, so like how do I positively make this? How do I positively increase my IQ? So whenever you're like reading books, whenever you're taking classes, one thing that you can do is ask for help, and ask questions along the way of life. Honestly, I'm not saying that it's an easy thing to do because, like, take for instance for me, I have a hard time being able to ask for help. I have I was brought up to believe that if you are asking for help, you are weak. Whenever that's not the case at all. It's actually good to admit flaws and it's healthy to do that, because then you have people, you're enabling people into your life, and also you learn a lot faster and a lot easier as well. So welcome back, Katie. One of the sayings that I've always heard, and it's kind of like a two-parter, and the second part will be on this next part, but you'll only be as smart as the books as you read. Right? So you'll only get smarter with the books that you read. So the different things that you're inputting into your brain, that's the smartness that you're going to be getting. Smartness. That's really your intellect that's going to be going in there, and you're going to be furthering yourself in education the more that you read and the more that you learn from that and memorization. Now, again, it needs to be true facts, because again, kind of like what that saying says, you only be as smart as the books you read. If you read something that is incorrect, or you just read everything on your Wikipedia page, guess what, homeboy? You are going to be not as good. You're not going to be very smart, because you're only going to be as smart as that false Wikipedia page. So make sure that you get credible things. Make sure that you look at it from a desire to do it, because if you look at different books and studying and getting wisdom as like a have to do type deal, a lot of times you're going to be less interested. You're not going to want to do it. And, honestly, it's just not going to go very far. Like for me, I hate reading. I do not like it. Now, things that interest me, like take for instance these positivity talks. A lot of this stuff I really enjoyed to learn about and read from different authors, and it's just something that energizes me, because it's like, oh, this makes perfect sense. How can I make this into how can I pass this along to somebody? And so whenever you do that, try and have that mentality around it, because if you don't have that mentality around it, it's going to be much harder to do it. It has to be a good book for me to want to read it. I see what you did there, Katie. I love you for it. I feel you. That's what I just got done reading too. I just got done reading a good book as well. So EQ, right? So this is that emotional quotient. All right. This is something that I hinted to on a few different topics. This is a pretty big one, because IQ is now being paired with EQ for leaders in the world. This is something that basically it's how you interact with others, being empathetic, focusing on teamwork, relationships. This is basically, honestly, this is quickly becoming one of the biggest things that people are looking at as it pertains to like leadership. So like whenever someone is going for a job position, a lot of the times they're going to be looking at how your EQ scores. And even whenever you apply for a job, there are a lot of times standardized tests that go over, you'll probably be asking questions about word bubbles. You're probably going to be asking questions about, hey, define yourself by these certain words. And it's because they're looking at, honestly, they're looking at your EQ. Trust me, I know. I am literally in HR, and we use some of those tests. Armdep, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Neverland. Welcome to the community. Make yourself at home. And so whenever you look at EQ, right, a lot of the times traditionally, a lot of these great leaders that have been praised have actually, the reason why people are looking at this now is because a lot of them already had high EQs that we consider good leaders. Right? Traditionally, the majority of them had high EQs. So now one thing to note with having a high EQ, like you need to be very, very careful with this, because with high EQ comes a high sense of responsibility, because you have the ability to, if you use this in a negative light, right, instead of a positive light, again, positivity talks, if you use this in a negative light, you have a pretty easy ability to be able to manipulate people. And, man, that's just, it's a shame to waste it on that, because things that are meant to be things that are hidden are meant to be discovered. Okay? And whenever you manipulate people, you are hiding something from them, and eventually that's going to be discovered. Whereas if you use it in a positive light, like you can really open up great things that you have just like right inside of you, right? You can make lasting positive changes in the world. Self-awareness, personal motivation, self-regulation, empathy, like social skill, all these things that you can release that is your brand of that. Because each of you have something special in you to be able to give as an emotional quotient to others, and to be able to say, hey, by the way, let me understand what's going on here. And we'll talk actually, another positivity talk that we'll talk about is the act of listening, and how to be a quote unquote good lover. And it's not like the lover is what you think about it, like, yeah, brown chicken, brown cow. It's more of like a lover as an acronym on how you can listen. Fun fact. So and so lying takes so much effort, to be honest. How do people remember all the things? Right, Jay? Like, I never got it whenever, like, take for instance, my wife really loved to watch Gossip Girl. I watched about 20 minutes of that show and I wanted to shoot myself. Like, it was horrible. It was so bad. Like, just watching that, it's like, how do these people survive? And the sad thing is, I know that it's just a show, but there are actually people out there who do this. There are actually people out there who live this way. And it's like, why? You have been permanently banned from the channel. It's not appropriate, right? Yeah. Hey, you gotta have some fun in here. But, like, man, I totally agree. Right? Dude, it's so hard to be able to do that. So some of the things, like if you're learning principles and practices for improvements in like self-awareness, self-management, self-confidence, self-control, adaptability, having initiative in something, becoming more socially empathetic and like service oriented to others and like the organization that you represent, like those things are going to go huge. Like to be able to increase your EQ, right? If you think about inspirational leadership practices, change management, conflict resolution, so things that I've already been talking about, like how to be able to adapt to change and how to be able to take a negative into a positive, like these are all things that are talking about how to raise your EQ. Whenever I talk about these positivity talks, these literally, you can go back and look at these will help raise your EQ. Literally, that's what happens. That's why I wanted to wait to talk about EQ until we're a little bit closer to game day, whenever kind of a lot of these are gonna, whenever I'll be done with a lot of these. So work on those different ways. Like spend time with others, take time to understand how others are feeling, to enable you to develop more fulfilling and deeper relationships. Another one is to swallow your pride, people. I'm sorry, but like that needs to happen. A lot of the times pride is what gets the best of us, and to be honest, a lot of times whenever we mess up, it's because of pride. Truly, you can almost go back to there exclusively, and you'd cover a pretty good portion of our mistakes. So, or at least negative mistakes, right? Like intentionally harming somebody. So, the other part of that saying that I was saying earlier is you're only as smart as the books you read, right? You're only as smart as the books you read. And the other part of that is what I say a lot of times, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. Okay. So whenever you get this negative or positive input into your life, a lot of the times you're going to start adopting that as your new norm. So one thing that you can also do to increase this, hang around with positive people. What? It's that easy? Yeah, it is. A lot of the times whenever you hang out with positive people, your life will become more positive. You will look at it in a more positive light. You will think of it in a more positive way. So just even by being around people, like you are inevitably going to be looking at things in a more positive light. What's going on, Shadow? How are you? I must be a good person. So friends with proof. I don't. Jay, you were a good person before you met me. Like whenever I first met you, I knew that you were good people. And so like just even surrounding yourselves with that, like putting yourselves in what you can kind of think of as like a circle of positivity, man, like your life is going to be better. Like you're just going to have more fun. You're going to look at things in a much better way. So that another one, that's a pretty easy one to be able to increase your EQ. So those are the two that are kind of like the big ones in there. The next are the ones that are kind of, they're still very much being looked at, right? There's still so much research going in there with all the different cues and even barbecue in there and all the other quotients in here. But the next one that we're going to talk about is the physical quotient. So the way that I think that that's best to define that as the ability to listen and identify and respond to internal messages about like your own physical self. So like either like ow, this hurts, or hey, I'm hungry, or honestly, like dealing with things such as like depression, fatigue, frustrations, anger. These are different things that like that have or even stress, right? Like my boy AZ Rockslide, who was talking about how stress has just been kind of hitting him. Knowing Rockslide that stress is causing these things, that means that you're getting more and more proficient in your PQ. Okay, so kudos to you for having that awareness. And so, if you learn about and understand like how the mind and the body connect, it's huge. And so, like, take for instance, right? One of the things that we probably don't think of is, like with food, right? Physical quotient, pretty safe to assume that having food in there is a pretty good tie in there, right? Whenever your body is telling you, hey, by the way, you're hungry, and you knowing if it's 1, because you're bored hungry, 2, because maybe you got the munchies, or 3, because your actual body needs the sustenance, that takes some PQ. Okay, that's knowing that. That's taking a little that's taking a little bit of quotient in there, right? Knowing which one is in there. Determining your body's perfect weight, how you feel, like do you have energy? Like what's your fitness level? Like what kind of diet do you need? Knowing these things and saying like, or even like looking at something like, oh, like this is hot, I should probably stand back whenever you're close to a fire. I know that some of these things might seem kind of like we learn them at a young age, and then we can easily, attest to this, like whenever standing around a campfire, like how close or far back you're supposed to stand. But believe it or not, that took some learning. Like you didn't just all of a sudden say, hey, this, like, I still remember as a baby, I reached up and touched a part of the stove because I didn't know that red meant hot. But now, after doing that, I know that red means hot. That's not good to do. So, 100% good person checks out the ultimate standard perfection. I'm not perfect, so I may be a good person sometimes, but I'm not perfect. Yeah. But it's kind of like that like practice doesn't make perfect, Katie. Perfect practice makes perfect. And you can't practice perfectly every time. So like while perfection should be something that you can strive to, you should never have it be the standard. Does that make sense? At least that's my own personal thing. But so like whenever you think about this PQ on there, think about like why is practice makes progress. There you go. That's a good way to put it, Katie. Absolutely. Red means hot. I thought red means stop. I've been doing it wrong this whole time. Mine would just be knowing that I'm hungry because I actually need something then. Yeah, see, like all these different things you learn as you're growing up and as you're getting older, and it's just something that you eventually understand, right? And so like why is nutrition, consistent balance exercises, proper rest, that's a big one, relaxation, stress management. These are different things that that you can do to be able to increase your physical quotient. Like you need to be able to get rest. Like whenever you start kind of doing one of these and you're not very smart, or like take for instance, hi Mrs. Rufio. Oh, did you hear the alarm go off, Jay? Nice. And so whenever you do that, right? Like whenever we do our 24-hour marathon, my body's going to be acting loopy, right? And I noticed that because I'm going to be talking funny. I'm going to be saying very odd things. Once about 8 or 9 o'clock the next day rolls, about 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock once the next day rolls around for our 24-hour marathon. And I know that just by doing those things, I have the PQ awareness that I need sleep. Like my body is not functioning at a maximum level. So like how do we increase this in different ways, right? Because PQ is something that we're kind of just getting into a little bit as a society and being able to learn about. So take time when eating and assess what you need, right? A lot of the times we eat so fast, and we just sit there and think like, oh man, this is what I need. Like I'm so hungry for this. And it's like, oh, it's so good. And then you just keep on eating. Like take time and assess and think through what you need, and think through like a diet and exercise plan that enables you to live the life that you want to live, right? Like that enables you, because food is basically like, think of it like this. Food is like energy, and it gives you energy. That's like, it's the fuel for your tank. So what kind of energy are you putting in there? Like for challenge what the status quo is of what we've been taught. And and so just think about that. Like, what we've been taught as far as for like, hey, hey boy, you need to eat some meat and potatoes, get some muscle on you, right? Like, think how far so many things have come nowadays, like technology, just knowledge in general. Don't you think that probably things that you eat and our diet has probably been a little bit skewed from what we were originally taught? Don't you think it's probably come a little bit? Maybe time to think about what you need to eat. Might be a little outdated. Except for, I mean, let's go ahead and face this. Shout out to Camo for chimichangas and Ruckus, my man, for tacos, because those things are the bomb.com. I could live off those things. Dead serious. Jokes, obviously, but seriously, tacos are amazing. Like, I just ate a whole pizza. Do I need it? No, but it was cream cheese pepperoni underneath it, so I did not feel hashtag pizza blast. See, like, Ruckus, and that's the thing, man. Like, I'm not saying that every single day you need to eat bark bars to be able to live a happy life, right? Like, you don't need to do that. You are given and you are born with these taste buds, and if you aren't using them, like, you're wasting them. Take time to appreciate what you're eating, to really go through it and taste all the amazing flavors of what food you're eating. And occasionally have a cream cheese pizza. Do it. Like, that's not gonna kill you, right? Now, if you're eating cream cheese pizzas for every single meal, Ruckus, I'd come up for one, give you a hug, because you obviously need one, and like, that's amazing. Like, kind of like you ate the whole wheel of cheese. I'm not angry, but I'm proud. I'm not angry about you, buddy, but like, come here. Like, you need to eat something different than just cream cheese pizza all the time. I'll even buy you some good pizza if you want, or some good tacos. But yeah, but that did look really, really well. That did look really good. I saw the picture of that. But the last one on here is that spiritual quotient. So, all the way, Jay. Thank you for that host. That spiritual quotient. So a lot of this I'm going to be getting from this portion, right? Because again, this one isn't like this one from everything that I looked at, because whenever I was thinking about extra life, I wanted to tie it into one of these, right? Because a lot of times I like to tie it into one of our talks. But I didn't really feel like it fit any one of those three. Like, you might be able to put it under the EQ, but with IQ, EQ, and even PQ, you're looking at this from like a, how does it benefit me and how can I relate to someone else? But again, it's all kind of towards you. And SQ, whenever you look at that, like the ability to behave with wisdom and compassion while like maintaining inner and outer peace, like no matter what the situation, and thinking about things like in a larger perspective, like in a morality, in a greater good type of situation. That's where extra life fits in, and that's where like a lot, because even like morals, like you could have a high EQ and not have strong morals, right? So this is where that SQ kind of comes in, right? So and I kind of think, so one of the things that she talks about in her book of the book SQ21, the 21 skills of spiritual intelligence, the two pillars are kind of wisdom and compassion that go in there, right? It's basically the ability to understand, and let me go ahead. So this is her quote. The ability to understand that human beings have a need for meaning, value, and a sense of worth in what they do. So, like, being able to differentiate right from wrong, from like universal principles or whatever kind of principles that you have learned or that you believe in, deeper understanding of like your own worldview and being able to question that, like your life purpose, your value hierarchy. Radiated Foxes, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Neverland, homie. Happy to have you here. Welcome. So like you're being able to control personal ego and consider the higher self, like kind of your own spiritual growth and living your purpose and values and vision and like seeking guidance and like some sort of awareness. That's a little bit like what SQ is, right? So social mastery, like spiritual presence, like wise and there's one other thing that she says in here is that wise and effective mentor of like spiritual principles, leadership change agent, making wise and compassionate decisions, and being aligned with the ebb and flow of life. Integrity, meaning, and voice is huge. So like integrity, which is like character building, is a big part of SQ. Meaning, so it's like, what is kind of my purpose and what am I meant to do here? And then voice, which is self-enlightenment and motivate, and the ability to motivate to other people, and like motivation towards others. So this is where like Extra Life fits right into there, right? So like whenever you think about that, integrity and character building, Extra Life, you are literally doing something for another person that you may well never ever meet, right? You will get nothing back in return. You get nothing back in return. Okay? Whenever you do that, so for all of you that participate in Extra Life, thank you for that. Like, that's huge. And whenever you do that, your character building, your purpose in life, sometimes people look at that as like what am I supposed to give back? What's kind of my greater meaning? And a lot of times no one's going to be able to answer that for you except for you. And I'm sorry, but that's about the best advice that anybody can give you, because nobody's ever going to know what your purpose in life is except for yourself. So, and the last one is like the self-enlightenment and like how can we help others into the greater good? Like with Extra Life, whenever you give a true gift to someone, right? A true gift to someone is giving it to them and literally having nothing and expecting nothing in return. Not a thank you, not anything. There is no reason for that. And so whenever you do Extra Life, that is increasing your SQ. And that's really awesome. If you're not part of Extra Life, I'd love for you guys to join. But even just being here, like watching ads for bits, like giving bits, giving money, being here and promoting the stream, going to the Extra Life stream and promoting Extra Life, all that, truly, you guys are increasing your SQ. And one other thing that I want to say, not only just in like the form of Extra Life, right? But for those of you who aren't in Extra Life and just maybe that's just not your thing, that's fine. That's not your cause. Like maybe your cause is to be able to help in a certain other way, like with the elderly or with like Make-A-Wish Foundation. You know, there's plenty of other things that you can do to be able to help out your SQ. One thing that I would recommend doing is this. Whenever a doctor tells you to take 30 minutes of rest because you're sick, do you do it? Probably. How about if a trainer or if a doctor says, hey, by the way, you're sick, or hey, by the way, you really need to exercise 30 minutes a day or else your heart could collapse, right? You're probably going to do it. You need to lose 50 pounds or else you could have a coronary heart attack. You're probably going to do it. But what happens if someone says, hey, I need you to take 30 minutes and just literally sit, do nothing, work through your feelings, work through your problems, and just think, meditate? Would you do it? Probably not. I know I wouldn't. So think about that. Think about taking some time during your day and just working through stuff. Like, just think about how you can, like, hey, why did I do this? Why do I think this? Be thinking about, oh, okay, well, I'm getting ready to go do this. What's the best way that I can do it? Like, what kind of things can I do? Or, like, just actually, like, think through things and think about what's in your heart and what's in your mind rather than what's on your tablet or on your phone or on the internet. And so whenever you work through those things, you're getting a deeper satisfaction and deeper understanding of things because you worked for the knowledge as opposed to not having to work for it, and it just kind of goes one ear and one out the other. So it's funny to me because I had to meditate on the fact of whether or not I would meditate on things. That's it's going deep right there, Katie. Going deep right there. But so those are the four. So that is your positivity talk over IQ, intellect, EQ, emotional quotient, PQ, physical quotient, and SQ, spiritual quotient. So, hope you all enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But I'm just really, really appreciative that